Yeah, hello everybody, and welcome to the second episode of our series Petra Likes Cooking, how to build a fully fledged Type 3 site package from scratch. Last episode was about the basics of a site package, how to get one, how to use the site package builder, and how to actually install Type 3 by making use of Composer.json and all that stuff in the site package. Today we will be starting with the actual backend layout and templating part, so that we will try to find out how many backend layouts we will need and how they will match the different templates that we will be using for the site package. So this will just be about the basics. I think there will be more to come in the next episodes where we go into the details of the fluid templates. So this is just about how to get the basic structures and stuff like that into your site package. So first of all, we should take a look at the template that we bought. And you remember this is the one that we got from Template Monster, and we are using it with a specific layout, which was one of the transparent headers here. So this was the idea that we wanted to use. And the first thing we should do is now to try to find out how to put that into backend layouts and how to create backend layouts out of that. So first of all, I should explain what backend layouts actually are. So maybe we should go to the Type 3 backend of the site now. As you can see, there is just one section in here, which is the normal section where you can put content in. So the idea is to separate the page layout, the backend layout of that page, into several sections, so that we will have the option to create, for example, a header section or a footer section for repeating content, and a normal section for content that you will be actually putting on the page. So when you now take a look at several pages in here, for example, let's go to a people page. You can see here's a kind of header and the navigation is on top of that. Here's some content followed by even more content with people in there, and down here there is a footer. Now the first thing we should do is try to find out what actually is a repeating content. So is there a footer on each of the pages? So let's go to another page here and say, okay, classic news, for example, and check it out. Again, we have a header section on top of this with an image and a classic news title and some breadcrumb menu. We have a section where the actual content of the news is located, and down here we have a footer again. So let's see if this is the same for the shop. And again, we have a footer, a header, and a content section. So it seems to be a good idea to at least have one layout for this backend that resembles a header, a content, and a footer section. When you take a look at the code, you will see that the site package already provides something which is creating the backend layout, and it's actually located in the tsconfig page mod web layout backend layout section. This is the default tsconfig. And as you can see, this is a kind of TypeScript, and actually it is TypeScript. So you can change that within page tsconfig in the backend, and you can write that into a file, and you can create this thing either by writing it directly in the editor, which is available here. But when you're not so familiar with this syntax, you can even have that syntax created for you with a wizard. And this is something that we will do now. So let's go to the backend again, and let's see how this wizard will be working. So we have to go to the list module because we want to create a record. actually we are not going to use that record. You can do that, you can put that those records in the database. The problem is that they will not be available together with your site package anymore and just be available within that specific installation. So it's a better idea to just use the wizard to create the code and still have the code within files, and then provide the files for the site package or within the site package, so that you can move them around and put the site package somewhere else. So what we do now is we create a record here, select Backend Layout, and as you can see, here's a wizard. I will just switch to the full view so that you can see the full wizard. When you click on it, you can add, for example, rows and columns. And after that, you can even connect the columns here, or go down here and can remove stuff again. So what happens is, when you go to the show page tsconfig, you will see that there is a code which is actually based on the stuff that you clicked here, and you can see it automatically adds rows, columns, a call count, row count, and all that stuff. And we can now use that to create a new record for the backend layout. So maybe we can just close it and repeat that, because we already spoiled it a bit by clicking too much. Open the tsconfig, and the first thing we wanted to have is just a header section, a content section, and a footer section. Now we can enter a name here, the header. We will give it column 1. Here is content section. This will have column 0. I will explain the numbers later. And we have footer section down here, shall have column 2. Or maybe we can even give that a 2, it's even better. And this one will get a 3. The point is that there are some default columns in tab 3. So usually the main content is taken from column 0, colpost 0, and there are other columns which have been available for years in tab 3, which is column left, column right, and column border, and they have numbers. So the idea is to provide the main content still with column 0, even though it's not the first column in that backend layout, and give them the other areas other column numbers, so that we can have, for example, column 1 or 2. Actually, it's not 1 or 2, it's 0 and 1 for a left and a right column in here, where we can have a main column in the left or on the right, and we will still have the number 0 here. So when we take that and compare it to the code we saw over here, it looks similar. So what we do now is, for example, we will create a new file. And we will call it basic. Actually, it doesn't matter how we call it. We just have to give it a name that will be unique, and this name will then be used within the selectors and in other scenarios where you have to store the actual value into the database, and then you can give it a name that will be you have to give it a name that will be unique. The good point about giving it a name is that we will have something better than a number, and this is one of the reasons why you should go for the file-based approach and not for the records, because records will have UIDs. So when you create a new record, it will get a UID 1, 2, 3, and so on. So you can never make sure that the same record with the same UID actually holds the same backend layout. So it is a good idea to use real names for the layouts and provide them via files. Okay, so let's see. We have to use a layout which is called basic. You should give it the same name as you used for the file. So the basic layout will then create the basic file will then create the basic layout. We can give it a label here, and this specific syntax is used to create language labels, so that you have, for example, an extension, and in this extension you have a local lang file like this one here, which is actually created by the site package builder already. So we can add a new language key here, and since we will need some additional columns, actually we have 3. We have the header, we have the content, and we have the footer. This will make sure that the labels we are using will be translatable, because these files will then be sent to the Typo 3 translation server, and on the Typo 3 translation server they can be translated into all the different languages Typo 3 is working with. So there are people taking care of that for their specific language that they are responsible for, and they will provide extensions with additional languages, and they can use this xlif syntax to provide the labels. So let's upload these labels, and we have the backend layout basic, and now we can copy the structure that we created here, which is configuration backend layout here, and put that in the backend layout section here. Just switch to the Chrome window so that you can actually see that. I just marked it here, and now we can put that into the file here. Okay, we have colcon 1, rowcon 3. In row 1 there is the column name is header, name is content, name is footer, and of course we have to provide the correct labels here as well, so that we can translate the labels of the columns. Just have to check the keys here. Backend layout column header is the key, and this is the one that has to be put in here. And here we have content, and this one will be footer. Okay. The syntax is just that there is a the triple L in here says, okay, let's do a translation. Then we have extension, the folder, the name of the extension, and then the folder where the language file is located, the name of the language file, then there is a colon here, and after that this is the key for the labels. So let's upload this too. And hopefully this can be selected as one of the backend layouts now in here. Yeah, we have page.js basic, we have page.js default, but it seems we have the wrong label. So maybe we have to flush the cache here and make sure that we used all the correct labels here. We have config backend layout. This is the title, just backend layout basic. Of course, we have to rewrite that in here. So let's clear the caches again. And now go to the Chrome here and check if we have the right backend layout available. As you can see, there are two icons already here. We can provide another icon as well, but if there is no icon provided, it will be the default icon. So as you can see, we have the default layout, which has been provided by the site package, and we have the basic layout that I can select now, because then you can read it. It seems that the Chrome select boxes are not transferred to the stream. I will say that now. And if we did everything right, we should see something different here. And as you can see, we have header, we have content, we have footer here. Now we have to check if there are other layouts that we need, because maybe we just have not content in a single page, maybe we have something different. And if I remember correctly, we have, for example, we had news. And the classic news has a 2-column layout. So now we can decide if we want to go for a page layout here, or if we want to provide another solution to create multi-column content. In this case, I would prefer the backend layout of the page, because this is something that stretches over the whole page. So we have a 2-column content here, we have the footer here, and we have the header on top. So let's do that now. And go to the backend, go to the list view, so that we can again use the wizard. We have a backend layout here, and now we want to have again 3 rows, and we want to have 2 columns, but we just want them for this part, so we have to combine the 2 columns in the header and the footer. And here we have the structure that is created by this approach. So we will still have the header over here. This was column 2, if I remember correctly. So we have content here, which would be 0. Then we have sidebar here, which would be the 1. And there is footer with columns 3 in here. Now we can use this as the backend layout for a new file, and the file will be called 2 columns. And we can just rename it here, which would be 2 columns. Just have to close down the Chrome window so that you can actually see it. Can put it in here, and we can use the labels from the other one. This was content, sidebar, and footer. Okay. And since we added a new column which was not labeled yet in the translation file, we can go in here, add a new key, give it the name sidebar, and upload that too. Okay, so if we did everything right, we should see another backend layout now when we go to the page and edit that. As you can see, we have 3 icons. When I switch on the Chrome window, we have 3 icons now, and there is default, basic, so we copied something in here. Actually, we did not copy, but we have to copy something in the language files. So this will be 2 columns, 2 columns, and we have to change that in the tsconfig as well. Two columns. Okay. Go to the Chrome window again, and let's check it. Have to flush the caches first, because otherwise the language labels might not have been created already. So am I not loud enough? Is it better like this? I just read the chat. Point is, I just moved the mic down a bit because I didn't want to have the pops and the hisses. Okay. So I will leave it like this and leave the pops in there. Okay, so we have 2 columns. We have basic, we have default. And let's switch to 2 columns. And as you can see, we have content here, we have sidebar here, we have header, and we have the footer. So what we have to do now is we have to create the files that will actually resemble the layouts, because when we go to the PHP Storm window now, you will see that all this is used in the TypoScript that is actually creating the front-end output of the page. You can see we have a page here, and page is using a fluid template, and here is something which has been created by the site package builder that tells you that the template names will be generated automatically by converting the applied backend layout. There is no explicit mapping necessary anymore. So this means that this part here, template name, is taking the data from the page layout field. Actually, this is the virtual field which is automatically generated under the hood by Typo 3. So this is not a field in the database, but it will provide you with a selected backend layout, depending if it is one that you have set in the field backend layout next level or backend layout as the main field. I can show it here. This one is the one that actually determines the backend layout for a particular page, and this one is determining the backend layout for subpages of this page, unless you override it with none or specific backend layout for one of the subpages. So this is automatically put into the virtual field page layout, and the page layout can then be used in here to just cut off the page TS and the double underscore, and then it can be split into actually the upper camel case one will be then the field name. No, not the field name. Bullshit. It's the file name. So you can see it up here. When we have a value which is page.ts _subnavigation_right_2_columns, this will be converted into subnavigation right to columns.html. So when we want to create something for our front-end layout now, we can check if this is already working, because we have a front-end output, and usually there should be nothing visible yet because we don't have something available there. So we go to this one, and now we have to create a file. Default is already there, and since we created additional layouts here, we have to create, for example, the basic HTML now. Yes, this. And when we're already on it, we can create the one for the 2 columns as well. And since Benjamin Cott is already available in the chat, maybe you can just tell me if it's now a uppercase C or lowercase c when the tsconfig name is like this. Currently not sure, but we will find out. So when we go to the TypoScript, maybe we can just, yeah, because when there's an underscore, there will be an uppercase. Okay, so actually it should be a lowercase c. And you just put something in here, which is the main section that should be rendered in here. And so we can see something. We will just give it the 2 columns output and upload that. Then use this one for the basic. In here. And now let's check if everything is working out as expected. Okay, the thing with the TypoScript object path that you wrote into the chat, is this something specific that we have to use now? Actually not, because just for the dynamic content here, we can do the rest later on. Okay, so let's try to find out what happens. Let's go to the Chrome window, go to the front end. And as it seems, we have to put in something more which is not available yet, because there is no TypoScript in here and no TypoScript template and stuff like that. So I think this is something that we have to postpone to the next session. So in the next session we will try to put that TypoScript and fluid template stuff into the front end. So what you know now is how to create these backend layouts, how to provide the backend layouts, and how to put them into your extension, into the tsconfig section. So just to give it a better overview, that's the important part. We will do the rest in the next session, which will be part 2 of the basic fluid template, basic backend layout session. Are there any questions that I should answer about the stuff that you have been seeing now, or is everything clear for you? Just have to wait a few seconds because there's a delay. Okay, no questions at all. So thanks for watching. On Friday we will have a new format, so maybe you should tune in then and try to see what we are providing with our first Type 3 service station format, where you can have questions that you put on Stack Overflow, and we will randomly pick questions over there. And if you want to have your question picked, you can support us by Patreon or maybe even by Twitch itself. On Twitch it depends on how many followers we will have until then, because we need at least 50 followers to be a Twitch affiliate that can accept the subs in there. Not sure what happens. Where is the front end output? Hearing audio from Mattis. Okay. Why can't I send bits? Currently the point is that what I actually told already, we need at least 50 followers to be an official Twitch affiliate, which we did not reach yet because we just started with our streaming. So we need more followers, and we have to fulfill some other criteria, like at least a few hours of streaming within 30 days and at least an average amount of watches during the last 30 days and some other criteria. And as soon as we fulfill that, then we will be available for support via Twitch. If you want to support us now, you can do that on Patreon. We have a Patreon page, which is Patreon, and the company name is Cybercraft. You can find that, for example, in the Grid Elements readmes on our GitLab servers. And of course, you can support us via PayPal and other things. So just ask in the chat, or maybe send us an email to info@coders.care. Otherwise, we will be available for support until as soon as we reached the criteria. So thanks for watching, and see you maybe next Friday or in the next session of Petra Likes Cooking. Bye.